Well, Bruce, thank you very much for doing this.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
thanks
So, congratulations on the Olympic silver. First of all, it was a wonderful event, and I guess from your point of view, tell me about the Olympic Games. How much fun it was for you, both in the men's, but also in the mixed doubles.
Yeah, I mean, the Olympics was a whole different experience to anything else I had ever experienced in curling. So just the media attention on top of everything else was just very exciting. We had so many good opportunities on the back of the Olympic success. And yeah, it's just been a lot of fun. And the Olympics itself, the mixed doubles was obviously disappointing for us finishing fourth and being so close to that medal. But I really do think it benefited me going into the men's event, knew the ice, knew what to expect from all the extra attention we were getting from media, and I really do think it just settled my nerves going into that men's event. And we played really well throughout the round robin, and really good games in both the semi and the final.
So okay, I didn't expect that. So playing the mixed doubles didn't tire you out as much as prepared you better. Well, I guess that was your first Olympics too.
It was, yeah, and I do think that for me personally, I think, I'm very lucky that I don't have to sweep in the men's game after the mixed doubles. I would have probably been pretty tired after that. But, I getting to skip the men's team after sweeping for the mixed doubles, it did kind of, help me understand what I was seeing from Jen and the mixed doubles. I was seeing the lines, I was seeing the rock kind of move and sweeping and all that kind of stuff. So it really did help me kind of settle that nerves and be able to throw the stone to the sweepers for the boys. And as I say, I think it really did help me into that men's event, and I played pretty well, so I was pretty chuffed.
Yeah, you did play pretty well. Going forward, I guess I'd like to ask you about the 4-person game in mixed doubles. You're awfully good at both. Are you going to continue to do both? Is it possible to do both? I guess it's probably the best question to ask, both on a fatigue, a body health, a mental, because of the travel, on so many fronts.
Yeah, I do hope that I'm able to still continue doing both. I want to continue doing both as well. For me, physically, I felt pretty good coming off the back of the mixed doubles. Even if I wasn't to play another event, I felt pretty good. Obviously, it was mentally fatiguing being at the Olympics and finishing fourth. That was probably the worst part of it. But physically, I felt pretty strong. And next season, I don't know what's to come. But if I do get the opportunity, I will be trying to play both events.
So, okay, is it your decision to play? I guess the system. I want to get into maybe the Scottish system or Great Britain system as to playing both mixed doubles and 4-person curling. Is that a Bruce Mouat call? Is it you and Jennifer? How do you decide these things?
Yeah, I think me and Jen will have a conversation about it and decide if we want to put our names forward for that sort of a thing. And I feel that British curling would definitely hear us out. If we wanted to play that, then they would listen to us and they would probably give us the opportunity. It's something that we've not had to do previously because, we were concentrating so much on the men's and the women's games. So, we're going into a bit of unknown territory, and I'm quite excited to see what British curling will allow us to do. So we'll definitely be asking I will be, and hopefully Jen's on the same page, that we'll be able to play both.
Yeah, so let's get into a little bit of that because it's interesting. We've been talking to athletes from all the different, lots of different countries, and the answers are all different as to how the program works in each individual country. So is the British system working on a 4-year term basically, or is it year by year?
So I guess we kind of look at it as a 4-year cycle. Every kind of, I know that the kind of cycle is how our funding is based. So we get funding for the 4-year cycle. So really we kind of follow that same system. Each year we'll obviously try and adapt to things that we're trying to change for the next year. But generally we'll look to the 4-year cycles. Okay.
So, the funding model that's used is for the team. So it's each individual, or is it understood as a team? As far as the 4-year funding of the athletes?
So we're all individually funded, and then we basically got put into teams. But like the guys and I, the team I'm in right now, we put ourselves together in 2017 before this all came about. So every year we get the phone call saying you've been selected for British curling. We don't necessarily know who we're playing with, but we've had a lot of success, so you would be,
Well, that's what
you would be surprised.
Say, this is no time to maybe separate Hammy and Lammy.
Yeah,
they sleep pretty good together, those two.
They have, yeah.
Right.
And I hope I'm still in that team as well.
Okay. How about okay, let's go one step further into sponsorship. So this is definitely a different business model than I was part of back in the day when I was playing, and Canadian teams. This is a little different. But as far as sponsorship goes, do you sell it? Like, are you involved in that, or your team, or is that more of a agency that helps with the entire program?
No, it's all done on an individual team basis. So we all look for our own sponsors. So obviously, like Grant's family sponsor, our main sponsor.
Yeah.
So they get the front spot. So that's obviously us sourcing them. Like they don't go through British Curling to sponsor us. And like we all do it as a team. Like we're one unit, I guess, and we're all trying to find these sources of sponsorship. So we would bring them to the team. We're not individually sponsored. I know like other teams in British curling have done that before, but as of right now, the guys and I have every time we bring a sponsor in, it's for the four of us.
Yeah, and you just pool that money together. But and a lot of your expenses when you go all over the world, that's covered by British curling.
So yeah, British curling are basically our biggest sponsor. That's like who would, they're probably the outrank any other sponsor in any of the Scottish or British teams by a country mile, because they pay for our flights, our accommodation, most entry fees. Like they're very generous to us. Like obviously that's where the main funding comes from, and it's national lottery funding that they get from UK Sport. So that's how. Like,
and then how you're paid as well.
Yeah, so we're paid by UK Sport, which is another organisation. So it's, there's a few organisations that we deal with, because we also have the Scottish Institute of Sport. So there's three kind of big companies there. So we're pretty fortunate that we get to work with all of them, but British Curling is who we sit under.
Okay, and then you bring in sponsorship money. And it doesn't matter how much, like we don't need to know that.
Yeah.
And then, but that's good. And then prize money is... Does a portion go back to
No, so as of right now, we're keeping 100% of our prize money. So each team in British curling keeps that. Could be changing, but who knows? Really, it's not for. Like I don't really know what the current situation is, but
yeah, you haven't got the phone call yet.
Exactly, yeah. I'm just scared for that moment, but
yeah. Hope the phone rings. Yeah, I think it's going to ring. I think you're okay. Schedule. Let's talk about schedule. We talked a little bit about the amount of games, mixed doubles and men's, or in Jennifer's case, mixed doubles and the women's game. One thing that I've been thinking about, and we talk a lot about it on our podcast, and we talk a lot about it outside of that as well, and that's in Canada, you've got the Canada Cup Ryer and Scotties and that kind of stuff. And in World Curling Federation, they've got Europeans and they've got Worlds and that kind of stuff. And the Grand Slams, of course, it's the best of the best. It's the only way you get in a slam is if you're the top. If it's 16 teams, 16.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter that way if there's 9 from one country, because it's just the best of the best, period.
Exactly, yeah.
And then the Worlds, you tend to have your top 5 or 6 that really have a really good shot at winning the championship, and then other teams that are improving and getting better and that kind of thing, which is great.
Yeah.
But I think there's got to be I believe there has to be some middle ground. And that's like a World Cup, not like it was before. That I don't think that was the model that is in my brain
as well.
No, I didn't understand it. But a World Cup where top countries, like for sure men's curling in Scotland, you've got yourselves and Ross and Ross, like 3 teams that are really good.
Yeah.
So those 2 or 3 of those teams would be in the World Cup. Other countries may only have one really super good team.
Yeah.
Say Retornaz.
Yeah.
Not a lot of depth in Italy, but that team. And then you've got, say, South Korea women, 3.
They've got really good teams.
Really good teams. Yeah. And so on. So then when you get to this World Cup, many countries are represented, but not just one team. And those events, I think, would be great training ground for people like a Ross White, who's really good, but just young and getting going. But then also a good place for teams like yourself and Nicodine and Brad Gouge and so on to battle it out.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on that type of situation, because I want to add to it after I get your thoughts on growth of an event like that in the world of curling.
Yeah, I think that would be really interesting, actually. I think it would take a lot of kind of the pressure off each individual team. Like in Scotland, we're obviously all battling to represent Scotland, and there's only one team that's going to get to go. But, if there was a competition that, like a World Cup that you're kind of suggesting, that had, like, the best sort of 20 teams, which could have, 5 Canadian or 3 Scottish, whatever. Yeah, like a bunch of other teams that don't necessarily have to battle with just getting out of their country. They can then come and actually compete at a world stage against what is or should be the world's best teams.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking that the young up and coming, well, you're young enough, but you're already there. but team like you, a few years ago, trying to get up there and get into the upper echelon of the sport, it would be quicker. I think the ascent would be quicker, and I think that's a good idea. The negative side, maybe, and this is what I want to hear from you as well, is on the health side. So now you're going to be playing in the 6 Grand Slams. You're going to play in the Europeans. You're going to play in tour events that are really good around Europe, and X amount of World Cup events before you go to Worlds and I'm just and then all your mixed double stuff. I just wonder how much can a person play, period, without hurting themselves, and are we really hurting our top athletes' longevity of their career? And does that matter? Should we have a 40-year-old curler? Like, what are your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, I think the schedule's obviously getting busier and busier, and the season's getting longer and longer. It's obviously down to each team what they want to do and how long they actually want to compete for in that season. But, we've got the Champions Cup, which now is the first weekend in May. So that's, making the season even longer for teams. But I think it comes down to each individual team and what they actually want to be doing. If they want to play all 6 slams, if they want to play as many World Cups and like all the World Championships and stuff, then, let them do it. If they think that their bodies can hold up to that, then, try it. But, you also need rest and recovery, and I'm a great believer in that. I think like mental health as well, like it comes with that relaxation time. So I wouldn't put myself forward for playing every weekend. I don't think that would be good for my abilities either. I think I really need to go home and start to think about what I want to work on. So I think like making the season like jam-packed would be it would be fine if teams want to do it, but personally I wouldn't want to be competing every weekend.
You make a good point. So it can be jam-packed,
yeah,
but you may only play, you and your team decide, we're going to play 16 weeks this year. That's it.
Yeah.
So you pick your 16 weeks. That's it.
Yeah, I think like if they've got a lot of curling events and a lot of people get to watch curling, then that's a good thing. It's not going to be like I'm not going to be against them holding events because I do want curling to grow. So it does come down to each individual team what they want to do, and I would be like for teams playing every weekend if that's what they want to do. But
how about rest? Let's talk about that. So it was really important for back when I played to have a couple of weeks of nothing, then a certain amount of body balancing, bodybuilding, practice curl. How do you run your summer, your off season to not, because curling is a very lopsided sport. You're always building one side of the body more than the other.
Yeah.
So how do you manage to fix that, I guess, or deal with that in your off season?
Well, we put a lot of work in the gyms on the off season. I'm not going to go onto the ice probably until late July, maybe even August. So I'll get like 2 or 3 months off, and then I'm just going to try and maintain my kind of muscle mass and keep the kind of strength in my legs for being able to slide. Luckily, I don't do a lot of sweeping, don't play in a lot of mixed doubles events, just the kind of major ones that we have back home, the Scottish, and we're lucky enough to play the Olympics. But, I'm going to try and continue to build strength, and I'm not going to let that just kind of go away. I'm probably going to take maybe 2 or 3 complete weeks off of curling and not go to the gym and just kind of try and get a nice holiday. But yeah, we'll definitely continue going to the gyms and looking after ourselves.
Yeah. One thing I'd like you to touch on is the body balancing part. We talked to a lot of, now you're skip, so it's a little bit different. Not so much because you're pushing out of one hack. You're pushing with one leg, overextending that hip a lot. And then the other one, of course, you're slamming down into your slide position. And those are separate moves only on one side. And the sweepers, like somebody like Bobby or Hammy, they're sweeping one arm down all the time, building one lat way bigger than the other. Yeah. So I guess for the young curlers listening to this, how long does it take you to body balance before you can start to build?
Well, I guess doing like full body movements is probably the best way to go about it because you're training both sides of your body. We also have tried things where we've like swapped arms to sweep in sweep sessions. So you have like one arm down and then you train with the other hand. And, it's quite funny. Like a lot of people can't do it. I personally couldn't do it for like my one side was a lot stronger than the other side as a curler is. But, try and like not just ignore that other side, like actually work on it and maybe become a bit ambidextrous.
Huh. Okay, we got to get into that because so I teach a lot of schools, and we tell the young people that we teach, please learn to go both ways so you can be closed on both sides.
Yeah.
And of course, they're always better on one side than the other. So out of however long you've been trying this, you went from probably almost terrible on the one side to how good. Like, so I can tell kids like, no. Bruce Mouat and their team, they actually do this for body health. But how good can you get? Like,
I mean, it wasn't necessarily for body health. That's not what we were kind of looking at, I guess. We were just trying to see if it was something that we would be able to adapt to. And it does obviously take a long time because we curled for however many years to like focus on that one side of sweeping. So you're going to be so much stronger on that one side. So I probably went from like pretty bad to like bad. Like it didn't get like amazing. No, it's just nice to like try new things in curling. I've not tried curling left-handed yet, so maybe that's the next thing to try.
I went from pretty bad to bad. Yeah. That's well said. One thing I want to talk to you about is length of event. We just watched Nick and Brad Gushu play 15 games at the Worlds. That's a lot. And Tabitha Peterson was saying, so she played, I think, 16 in the bubble.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a lot of games.
It is, yeah.
Can we not? Is there any way that you've thought of where we can maybe crown our champions a little bit quicker?
It was actually a conversation at dinner last night that we had that we just like as a kind of chat, we thought about maybe combining the men's and the women's like world championships just to see if that would work, which would probably make the event even longer. But then you're probably not playing as many games because, the schedule would it would make the schedule longer. And then it would hopefully have like a really good crowd at this one event rather than, Vegas, it looked like it was busy, but it didn't like fill the stadium. So it would be really nice to start to see like these stadiums fill up with crowds again. Like going back to your days, like we used to watch the Briar and used to have like loads of people there, and that was amazing to watch. So it would be really nice to kind of see that again. And probably not having 13 teams at the World Championships is the only way to solve not playing 15 games. But maybe going back to the kind of 10 or 12 team system, and then like hopefully playing a few less games in those kind of World Championships.
Yeah, what I'm concerned about is the curler and 15 games, and now Brad and Nick just played Sunday night and caught a red eye, and now they're here playing right away here again, just a few hours after they got done in Vegas, and now play here. And then when they're done, the ones that made the mixed doubles are scooting off to Geneva to play 10, 15 games. And then after that, they fly back to Calgary to play the Champions Cup. And you know what I mean? So I think important that we somehow get these events shorter. And if it's whatever way it needs to be done, so maybe cutting back on the field, can we split the field in two, and have it'd be unfortunate if you guys and Nick are on opposite sides. We don't get to see you play until the playoffs, hopefully. Yeah, you know what I mean. You get the big dogs, and you want them to. Those are big games. We love watching. Totally. So your thoughts on that at all? Because I just don't know the answer, but I'd love to ask all you that are at the top of our game. Because it's just too many games for your guys for a couple of reasons. Marketing, you're spending too much time on one event. You've got to get to other markets. from my business brain says it's you can't spend 2 weeks in the market. I just don't understand.
Yeah, that's true. I think, like, as you said, like splitting the draw and having like two sides, so maybe 6 or 7, and then creating that kind of championship pool. So then the big teams do end up playing each other. It would probably still lead to the same amount of games, I'm thinking, if you're playing it that way. But yeah, it's definitely a tough one because, as you said, the schedule is now, it's crazy. I like Bobby's playing here. He's then going to the mixed doubles with Eve in Geneva, and then he's going to come back out and play with us in the Champions Cup. So he's got a long kind of 4 weeks of a lot of sweeping as well. So yeah, he's going to have to really look after himself. But yeah, I think it's definitely something that we're going to have to start looking into soon because the schedule is getting pretty hectic.
Yeah. One thing I want to talk to you before I let you go is the tick rule that was played in the women's worlds and the men's worlds, and we're playing it here as well. But you haven't played yet as we tape this. Your thoughts on it? Have you seen it be, I guess, effective in the game, either positively or negatively? Your thoughts?
I quite liked it, actually. I actually thought that it made for good viewing. I think it obviously adds more stress to the teams that are playing it, but you know, why does that necessarily have to be a bad thing? The one thing that, like, obviously the tick has become like the staple for all the leads. Like, they're just so good at it now that it is a shame that it's become like they've like worked so hard to make this kind of talent, and then all of a sudden it's just changed. But, you know, as a spectator, I was really enjoying watching it at the World Championships, and I'm actually excited to see what happens with it this week. And I'm expecting that I'm going to have to make a few tough shots if we're going like down, you know, where PL's going down the last end and we're not allowed to tick, then I'm probably not going to have like the 8 foot to draw to. I'm going to have to play some sort of a tough hit or a run back or a really precise draw to the 1 foot. So, you know, as a player as well, I am actually quite excited to see how it kind of unfolds. But yeah, I was really happy to see it kind of come in and trialed at the World Championships because it did make for good viewing.
You know, it's funny how the game changes and why we need to keep evolving our sport. There's a guy, Steve Gould, played with Jeff Stoughton.
Yep.
And his nickname was the Tick Man.
Oh yeah.
So he started the tick shot.
Yeah.
And Jeff, or I'm not sure who started, it was Jeff who figured it out, and Steve just got good at it.
Right.
Whatever. This is a long time ago.
Yeah.
And they played across the face.
Okay.
And that was a kind of a dead roll,
Yeah.
and that's how everybody did it to start with.
I remember trying that. Yeah.
But it was only made like, and he was a tick
Yeah.
man, and I'll bet he made 30% of them. Like, it was just such a hard shot then, and it was special.
Yeah.
But now it's not special. It's actually just a piece of your defense.
Yeah, I remember like watching, like I was kind of coming through the ranks. I was watching the World Championships, and then everyone was calling it the Weagle. So like Lisa obviously became really good at it, and they would play it in ends that weren't necessarily like the last few ends. They would play it quite early on in the games. So, you know, it definitely has adapted from Steve playing it way back, and then Lisa obviously playing it, and like every single lead has got to play it at some point, and they've all become amazing at it. So I guess that's what's brought on this rule, and yeah, I'm just, as a player, I'm quite excited to see what happens with it this week.
Well, good luck this week. Thank you very much, Bruce.
Thank you.